It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hey, guys, welcome back. And we're back to talk about 90 Day Fiance. Guys, we're back to do our recap like we do every week. And this was an interesting episode. But before we get started, you know how this works. If you haven't already, guys, go ahead, hit that like button. Let's show some love, get some more eyes in this video, and I guess go from there. I'm probably going to start with my least favorite couple only because I just find them to be absolutely odd. But I know the thumbnail has to do with Yara and Jovi and the fact that Yara is pregnant. They did get married on Valentine's Day, actually, and she had a baby girl. But again, before we get to that, I'm going to start with my least favorite couple, Mike and Natalie. All right, here we go. So guys, Mike and Natalie seem like they're making some strides, especially when his mom comes into town, but I don't honestly know. I don't know if this is going to work. They're an interesting couple, obviously, because they're completely opposite. Mike is a meat eater. She's a vegetarian. She is religious. He's not religious. She wants to live in a city vibe. He doesn't want to live in a city vibe at all. She wants her ring back, and it seems like he doesn't want to give it back. But one thing that they can agree on is that it seems like it's pretty healthy, the fact that his mom has come to visit, and she seems like a good voice of reason. Now, she doesn't necessarily think this relationship is going to work either because she thinks that there's a lot of differences to be worked out here. But she is being super nice to Natalie, and Natalie's trying her hardest to understand kind of where Mike's mom is coming from and her sense of humor. It seems like she doesn't joke the way that they joke, and she doesn't really understand why they joke the way they joke, but maybe, I don't know, is that an American thing? I didn't even know that that was a thing, to not understand that people have this jokey sense of humor. I guess the sarcasm and stuff is a little bit past Natalie, but I don't know. When she did show up, they end up taking her out to dinner and trying to figure out, what is the next step? His mom is like, where do you guys go from here? What's next for you guys? Did you guys set a date? And mind you, this is called 90 Day Fiance for a reason. They have 90 days to get married. And if they don't, then she's going to be back on a plane to the Ukraine. I didn't try to rhyme that on purpose, by the way. But she wanted to know if they set a date yet, and they absolutely haven't. She keeps talking about the fact that she doesn't have her ring back, but his mom points out something obvious. Natalie says, I feel like he's trying to punish me. But the mom was like, how do you think that Mike felt when you gave the ring back? It seems like you guys are kind of playing this back and forth game, and you guys really need to cut it out if you want to make this work. And I thought that was honestly a great statement. I feel like his mom's kind of the voice of reason, trying to help two children figure out the rest of their lives. Mind you, Mike and Natalie have both been married before, and obviously it didn't work out. So they're hoping this time that everything is different. But again, like Mike's mom said, this is an interesting dynamic concerning two people who really have nothing in common. When they're talking about a date, they end up deciding, okay, April 2nd, that's the date. And he suggested April 2nd. And Natalie was like, no, April 3rd, because April 3rd, the number 3, has a lot to do with religion, I guess, love, faith, something like that. And there are 3 elements, and that's why 3 is good luck. So April 3rd was on a Friday. I'm so curious to find out, though, if this couple actually did or did not get married. Again, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button. I'm going to drop an invite link in case anybody wants to call in and join me on this recap. And I'm going to move on because they're not my favorite couple. But I do like Brandon and Julia, and I feel like Julia is starting to finally kind of speak out. Julia talked to her dad, and her dad told her, you need to tell Brandon to be a man. And I think she's finally starting to do that. Brandon and Julia, here they are. She's sick of this. She doesn't want to feed the pigs. She doesn't want to feed the animals. She doesn't want to smell like she has been in a barn all day. She feels like she's dirty, and this is not the life that she signed up for. She ends up calling Brandon after getting off the phone with her dad, calling Brandon and letting him know, Brandon, I can't do this anymore. I hate this. He's like, what's wrong? You have to feed a few cute animals. How hard is that? And she's like, are you freaking kidding me? Feed a few cute animals? Absolutely not. That is not the life she signed up for, and she wants him to know that. So at this point, she's drawing her line in the sand, again, especially after talking to her dad, and her dad saying, you need to tell him to man up. She's drawing her line in the sand and letting him know, I'm not doing this life. So either we move out together or you can stay here by yourself. I mean, that's the ultimatum that she's giving him. He does end up coming home and trying to talk her down, and he was pretty much letting her know, like, you're not being so reasonable at first, but she wasn't budging. And finally, he was like, you know what? I love you. I don't want to lose you. So with that being said, I will have the conversation with my parents. We see that conversation is not going to go well because, I mean, obviously it wasn't in this episode. The preview for the next episode shows him sitting down with his mom and dad, letting them know he's moving out. They start panicking because they're like, what? What do you mean moving out? Where are you going? And they're not really having it. He said, maybe we can find some common ground here. Maybe we can stay in the same room or do something to sway Julia back over to our side. But the parents are like, this is absolutely ridiculous because what's going on here is that she's making you choose, and they don't like that. But at the same time, they're kind of putting her in this situation too. I know that she's living in their house, right? And she should respect their rules, but I think that's exactly her point. She didn't come to America to be with a big adult baby. You know, he's in his late 20s and she wants him to man up and they want to have their own spot. Obviously, like we saw when the parents left, they like to run around naked and do whatever else they like to do. So she wants the space to do that. Brandon goes to work in the morning. Well, feeds the animals in the morning, then goes to work. He's not allowed to bring her tea anymore. When he comes home, he has to spend time with the family. He's tired. He wants to play his video games or whatever. Doesn't get to spend time with her. Then he goes to bed. Doesn't see her then because they sleep in separate rooms. And then the next day they start it all over again. So this is obviously a cycle that she doesn't want to be a part of anymore. And I kind of agree with her. Like she said, she did not sign up for this. So we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to play out in Brandon's parents' favor. I think that they've been pushing way too hard. And now Julia is finally about to snap. She's letting him know, no more. I hate this. I hate the animals. I hate the barn. I hate living here. And I hate living with your parents. I don't blame her. She's not comfortable. So we're going to have to see what happens next. But again, like her dad said, you can't have two cooks in the kitchen. He said that was a famous Russian proverb. I didn't know that came from Russia. But he said you can't have two cooks in the kitchen. And that's absolutely the best analogy that we could use here is that there are two cooks right now, one kitchen. It's way too small and somebody's going to freak out. I honestly think it's going to be his mom. I think his mom is going to come home and have a lot of animosity towards Julia, especially in this next episode. But like everything else, we're going to have to wait and see. All right. And guys, before I move on to the next couple, which is another kind of ridiculous couple, and I'm sure you guys are going to think that too, I have Andrea O in the room. And I know she's going to say, Andrew, get out of my country, like she said last time. But go ahead, hit that like button, and let's move on to Andrew and Amira, and then I'll bring up Andrea. So Andrew is still in Puerto Vallarta, living his best life at the resort, eating steaks with a nice amount of marble in them. He's having cocktails, sitting by the pool, watching these families frolic on the beach. And she's pretty much been deported back to her country. They sent her on a plane after keeping her in a detention center for 3 days. And she said this was absolutely one of the most horrifying experiences of her life. She said it was awful. She can't even fathom going through this again. But she is under a lot of pressure. At this point, Andrew's like, maybe we can try this again. Maybe we can go to Serbia or a different country. And she's like, are you kidding me? I just spent, in the last 5 days, I've been on 4 different planes. I've been traveling. I'm tired. And she's probably terrified that this is going to happen again. Mind you, and I can't wait to ask Andrea about this, but the reason that they sent her back, or the reason they marked down, was because she didn't have her passport. But when she opened the envelope to see why they sent her back, her passport was in the same envelope. So she's saying that the Mexican authorities actually did not tell the truth about this. And I'm curious what Andrea, again, has to say about this, because I don't know if this is a common thing or why would they not let her in, or if it was because of COVID. You know, when she does sit down with her dad, though, she finally gets to see him, and he's so excited because, as a parent would be, he was terrified. He couldn't get a hold of his daughter for 3 days, and he didn't know where she was being detained. Obviously, Andrew's dopey behind did not have any sort of desire or want or ambition to go find her, even though we know that production tried to fly him to Mexico City to go figure out what was going on with Amira. He chose to sit right there at the resort and just message her on WhatsApp until she ends up messaging him back. That's obviously not a good boyfriend, but that's the route that he decided to take. Amira, again, though, her dad feels like this is absolutely ridiculous. He's not the right man because the right man wouldn't put her in situations like this. Again, I agree. And I also think Amira is way too good for this guy. I think that she is kind of like a lovesick puppy who is trying to find her way, trying to find her best friend in life, trying to find the person she wants to spend the rest of her life with. And he just happened to say the right things. I don't think that they're a perfect match at all. But again, it's not for me to decide. Let's ask Andrea. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Adam. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Oh my God, this show is a train wreck.
The show is a train wreck.
Oh,
So let's
okay.
talk about the first couple of couples before I move on to Stephanie and Ryan and Yara and Jovi. But where do you want to start? Actually, let's start with Amira and Andrew because I'm curious about why would the Mexican authorities, I'm only asking you because you obviously live in Mexico, right?
Mhm.
But why do you think the Mexican authorities would mark down no passport, but then put her passport with that letter back in the same envelope? Isn't that kind of strange?
It's so weird. It's extremely weird. I checked the documents that Product by TLC released, which are the documents that they gave her. And the checklist doesn't make any sense. Like, how come you can say that you don't have a passport, but you put the passport number at the top of it, and they blacked it out? I'm assuming.
And how also would she have been able to get into Mexico, fly into Mexico without a passport? That doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, because she didn't flew straight from France. She had to make a stop at Amsterdam, change plane, and then fly to Mexico.
Do you think it's because of COVID?
Most likely.
Okay.
Now, it would be interesting to know if any other person from that same flight was detained as well, or only her because she was holding a French passport.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, that whole thing with Andrew and Amira was ridiculous. Like, he was, oh yeah, I'm so worried about Amira. Meanwhile, he's drinking cocktails poolside, and her passport maybe it's expired. But you don't get into the first plane if it's expired.
That's what I was thinking too. I wanted to bring that up just to see if you had an opinion about that.
No,
yeah.
they don't even allow you to get into a plane if the passport is expired. Here in Mexico, you don't need to have, like, for example, in the US, you need at least 6 months to enter. Right. For us foreigners. And in Mexico is not the case. As long as you have enough days to cover your stay, let's say you're going to stay for a week, if your passport has a week left, you can enter.
Okay. That's interesting. And yeah, I know that you were just talking about Andrew, but what a joke this guy is. An absolute joke. This guy did not, it seemed like he's like, I love you, baby. And, I was so worried about you. It doesn't seem that way. And I'm glad that she kind of called it out too. She's like, seems like you're having a great time. Seems like you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah,
he's like, I know, baby, I'm going on a boat ride and then I'm going to go on a tour. And it's like, hope you don't get lost on that tour.
Hope you don't fall into the ocean.
Yeah, this guy is an idiot. And I hate to say that because I never get opinionated, but honestly, this guy just, I think, made a lot of people mad with the way he handled this situation.
Yeah, he was like, well, I already paid for this, so I'm going to enjoy my vacation.
Yeah. Gina Maxey said, Andrew gives me culty vibes.
Yep. He's a mix of culty and bigoted to me.
And Toton said, or didn't have the right visa in her passport.
No, for French citizens, you don't need a visa to enter Mexico.
Okay. All right. And moving on, I just want to go on to Mike and Natalie. Obviously, this couple is completely opposite. They have their problems, but it seems like Mike's mom was a good kind of buffer for them. What did you think about Mike's mom?
I think it was good to have someone else's opinion on the whole thing that's happening, because I think, and I don't know if you have seen Dr. Kirk's Honda recaps of Mike and Natalie. He said that they really have the potential to be happy, because in the first season they were very happy, they were very lovey-dovey and all that, but now all they do is like fight and complain, and just like in Mike's case, he just disconnects from the
Right.
situation. He just like evades everything and like yeah, but that could be his way of deflecting,
Okay.
or just giving Natalie the reason, which is not okay. If he really thinks that she's not right, he should said so, like in the class high class low class conversation that they had. Like somebody has to call it Natalie, because she thinks she's right and she's not.
Well,
So
and I think it's ridiculous too to get in a relationship with somebody that you want to change everything about. I think that like he doesn't check your boxes. The guy is not a religious man. He's not a vegetarian. He's not in the shape that you would want your guy in. Well, she would want her man to be in, obviously, because she reminds him all the time. He's not of the class that she was expecting. He doesn't live the way that is conducive to a healthy mind and lifestyle for her. I mean, there's nothing I can actually name that they do have in common. So it's just interesting to me how this is even a match, or why they're even trying to do this. But when I talked to Dr. Kirk Honda and did his roundtable last Monday, he made a good point about Mike and Natalie. And, you know, Natalie is getting to a point in her life where I think she's already had one failed marriage, and she, I think, wants a family, and that clock is ticking. So I think she's just really trying hard to make something work. That it's like trying to stick a, what do they say, like a square in a circle, a square peg in a circle hole or something.
yeah.
But
like, even if that's the case, if her goal is to be a mother, like, they're not compatible at all. They're fighting all the time. If she wants to be a mom, I would just look for a sperm donor and be done with it.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, I agree with you. And before we move on to the last couple, and I'm gonna start talking about Yara and Jovi and Stephanie and Ryan. Guys, go ahead, hit that like button, show some love. But I'm not even gonna say anything. What is your take on Brendan and Julia in this episode?
Julia needs to run to the hills.
Yeah.
That entire family is so ridiculous. The parents are like
Controlling.
The whole tea thing, like, oh my god, like your son is doing something nice for his fiance, and you're saying like he can't do it anymore. Like, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. And then I have to say that made me laugh, but it made me laugh because it was so ridiculous when they were in the kitchen table and the dad is like, oh, Julia, do you want some tea? And the mom was like, there's no time for tea. We need to work. Like, my goodness, like, can you just make her like a to-go mug? She had a mug in her hand. Why can't Julia take her?
They're too controlling, and I think that it's just, again, like her dad said, famous Russian proverb, you can't have two cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, I agree with that, because it seems like the mom is trying to compete with this new woman in Brandon's life, and I don't think that this is not healthy. Mentally, this is not a healthy situation. And for Julia, I am happy that she finally stood up to the situation. She's like, I don't like this. It's not about being around cute, cuddly animals. Like, I'm picking up crap. I'm feeding these animals. I mean, when she started screaming at the chickens and she's like, shut up. I was like, God,
I felt that.
She's had it. She's up to here, and she's had it with this situation and this family. And when she finally called him, she's like, I want to talk about this now. He's like, can we talk about it when I get home from work? She's like, no, now, Brandon. I was like, she snapped. This is something that it's been building up, and she's had enough. But also, good for you. Like, I know that he's trying to save up, and he's probably put himself in debt with this whole visa and taking several trips abroad. And you know, they flew her out from Russia, and I'm sure that he has to pay his parents back for that. So I'm sure he's trying to save up his money, and this is free living. But at the same time, it's like she didn't know that she was coming into this situation. So him not telling her because he didn't want her to not show up. I don't know which one's worse. You didn't tell her, so you gave her not the whole truth before coming, and she showed up, but now you have a bigger problem on your hands, or telling her and letting her make her decision before actually coming. I think that would have been a better situation. That way, you know, I mean, I honestly, I don't know. Do you think this couple is going to work?
I honestly hope not, because I really like Julia, and I think that she deserves better than that Cookie family, which I don't like because they are dog breeders, and I dislike dog breeders.
Right.
And you know, again, going back to Dr. Kirk Honda, he's done like a deep dive on them. I think they are the couple that he's reviewing the most because he's more intrigued by the whole family dynamic.
Right.
And he says that most likely the whole thing why Brandon is the way he is because he doesn't even know what he wants. He's not in touch with who he is. And that's why he's so eager to please his parents and Julia. And now that they're both like in conflict, he's in the middle, like being pulled from one side to the other. He doesn't know what to do because he doesn't know what he wants. If you notice, his convictions change very easily. So if their parents say like, oh, you guys are going to live here and work, he's like, okay. If Julia says like, I want to live, he's like, okay. So he doesn't even know what he wants.
Well, and I think that it's going to be interesting in the next episode too, how we see this pan out, because he was like, I don't have a choice. And his dad was like, yes, you do. And his mom starts crying and freaking out. And I'm like, oh God, they're going to go home and take this out on Julia.
Yeah. And that's just pure blackmailing. The mom, I mean, I can understand why the mother is the way she is, because at the end of the day, Brandon is her only kid, and she feels protective about him, and she doesn't want to leave. But if she is like if she really wants him to do his life, she should allow it. Or maybe that's the reason why she wanted to like set him up with a farmer girl, because that way the farmer girl would be more comfortable in the farm, and then that way they wouldn't have to leave, which Brandon didn't. He got another girl who is zero interested in the farm, which I don't blame her. It's a tough life. I don't think I would accept that either.
No, I agree. Maria said, unless they move out, it's not going to work, which I agree. Yeah. And then Trey said, if I were Julia, I would leave on the strength of not wanting Brandon's parents to be my in-laws, especially since he doesn't stand up for their relationship in any capacity.
Yeah.
Okay. And Maria also said he's the only child. They've had him in a bubble for way too long. I agree with all of those things. Well, Andrea, thank you for jumping on with me. I'm going to move on to the last two couples. And then if you're still around, I'll bring you up with Tea Talk with Shaw.
Sounds good.
All right. So, guys, I'm going to move on to Stephanie and Ryan. This is another interesting dynamic, and she finally made it to Belize. She made it to Belize with literally, it seemed like a whole suitcase full of goodies for this guy. And this relationship is such a joke if I've ever seen one. She's cheated on him. He's cheated on her. She doesn't trust him. She wants to see his phone. She buys him a bunch of goods. She pays his pretty much salary under the table by giving this resort $1,300 a month to employ him, which is kind of crazy because it's like he's working for the resort for free and doesn't know it. I don't know. When she arrived, though, she arrived on what she calls a puddle hopper, this tiny little plane, after taking the big plane, and he was right there to greet her with a balloon and roses. That's about the extent of what he got her, but she arrived with $3,000 watch, mini watches actually, the slides, the shirts, and this headpiece thing that you put over your head. I don't know what that's called, but I don't want to sound silly. I don't know. It's like a handkerchief for your head. I'm not really sure. But she thought it looked good on him, and she wants to spoil him with presents. She also, oddly enough, brought her parents' engagement ring to give to him so he can eventually, when he's ready, propose to her with that ring. So this guy really doesn't offer anything to this relationship except hooking up 4 times a night, and I think that's probably what does it for her. If you listen to the man, though, when he's talking in his interviews, he says, I'll do anything to fix this. I really want to get to America. I want to see America. It's nothing to do with her. And he did call her a little bit kooky in the last episode, just saying that she was a little out of whack. And honestly, this is a hard argument to have at this point. When they sit down for dinner, I also found it pretty interesting that he literally, I mean, he orders the most expensive. You order lobster at a resort. He orders the most expensive stuff. He has this woman so wrapped around his finger, but I'm interested to see what's going to happen when she tells him, hey, listen, I hooked up with your cousin. That's obviously not going to go over well. And then when she asked him, did you know I was going to look at your phone? He's like, no. Yes, you did. Obviously, he knew. He probably cleared that phone out right before she got there just to make sure you're not going to catch me doing anything. This guy is a little bit sneaky. He's all over the place and sneaky, just to say the least. But we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. And if he does, in fact, make it to America, I'm just interested when this woman is going to wake up, because this is not a good relationship. He's using her. She's pretty much a sugar mama. She's a sugar mama, and he pays her back with hooking up with her again 4 times a night. He says that he's young, and even though that she's older, she has stamina. Gross. But again, before I bring up my callers, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button, and let's talk about the main couple who I featured in the thumbnail, Yara and Jovi. So congratulations to Yara and Jovi. They're pregnant. Well, they were pregnant. They actually already had the baby, and the baby is supposedly a baby girl. They got married on Valentine's Day, I guess, in Las Vegas, which... okay, she got her Vegas wedding, and the family didn't get to show up, obviously, because she didn't want his family there if her family wasn't going to be there. She was annoyed when she showed up to the airport because not only did he have a Coke, but the Coke had alcohol in it. And she was like, Jovi, really, it's early in the morning and you're already drinking. What's wrong with you? And he was pretty much telling her, stop being annoying. Shut up. Don't tell him what to do. He just got back from a work trip and he doesn't want to hear it already. Mind you, I'm sure that having a month off away from her was probably really calming. Nobody was nagging him. He got to relax. Even though he was working, it was probably a lot more peaceful than being at home with Yara. But Yara has big news. She took her pregnancy test, to which the pharmacist said good luck. And once she took it, it came out positive. She ended up showing her friend, and her friend was like, I cannot believe what I'm looking at right now. Like, what are you going to do? Yara's not happy about this because she doesn't know if she's ready to be a mom. She feels like, I'm not ready to be a mom yet. I can't. What am I going to do with the kid? Sit at home and just feed the kid while Jovi's gone for a month at a time? I'm going to play with it. And, she's so self-involved. I can see where she would think at this point, like, I am not ready for a child. Maybe that changes after you have your child. And a lot of people say that too. It's like, when you give birth, you look at this beautiful little baby and you immediately fall in love with it. And at that point, you turn into a parent, and that maternal instinct, those maternal feelings, they come out. And maybe that's exactly what happened with Yara after giving birth to her beautiful little baby. Let's see what Tea Talk with Shaw has to say about this. Hi, Shaw.
Hi, Adam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to finally make a TLC when I always do Bravo. So
yeah, well, welcome to TLC.
So this episode was so crazy. I don't even know where to start. I just feel like all the couples this season really don't have a chance, and it's kind of sad.
That's what I felt about Brittany and Yasmin's season.
Yeah, that's true. Brittany and Yasmin's season, I think that before the other way was the same way. None of them are going to make it. I just feel like Stephanie and Ryan just seemed staged this week, because last week he was so nasty to her over video chat. Like, I don't care if we stay together. I don't care if you leave me. I don't care if you end the K1 process. Now they're lovey-dovey, and she's buying him thousands of dollars of gifts and flying 3 flights to Belize. It's just like, okay, give us something a little more realistic, 90 Day. I mean, it's a lot.
She did come out and say that production, like, this ruined her life. It ruined her mental health, and that the production, like, she trashed them, saying that they forced her to say and do things that she didn't want to do, and she just regrets the whole experience. But she honestly kind of looks a little out there and kooky in this season. She looks like she's being full-fledged taken advantage of, that she's okay with having this sugar mama role. And even at the table, it was uncomfortable to watch her with him when she gives him the ring. Her eyes are like going in and out, like she's either tired or she's drunk or she's something. I don't know what she is, but she's something.
I definitely saw those same things. And Stephanie did say, the show has ruined her life, especially because of what you were just talking about. It kind of makes her seem like she's on substances or she's drunk all the time. And, she said in the real world, she's a business owner, she's a boss in her own right. And it makes the people that she has to deal with on a daily basis feel like she's unreliable because now she kind of looks like a lush on this reality show.
Right.
And I feel bad for her, but people know what they're getting into when they get into reality TV. It's TV after all. It's a production. And
I would never sign up for reality TV.
Me neither. I wouldn't. You either have to put your foot down and say what you are not going to do, and that could get you fired, or you go along with everything that they say, and then you try to, blame production on the other end. But you know how that works out. Half the people don't believe them. And the people that do believe them say, yeah, but you still did it.
Right. A lot of people blame bad edits, but at the same time, like, you can't blame a bad edit on how kind of all over the place and cuckoo you sound when you're giving him honestly, I wouldn't have given him the ring. I would feel like you're going to give him the ring. And what if he doesn't propose to you with it in the 2 weeks? Do you leave your parents' ring in Belize? I would be like, listen, when you're ready to propose to me, I have the ring. So I'm not going to give it to you, but when you pop the question, I will put the ring on. I wouldn't, I just wouldn't hand over this ring because what if he conveniently loses it? What if I don't know.
It's a family heirloom. She said that many times. Why would you want to give them something like this so important when you guys are really up and down as a couple? I mean, that doesn't make sense why you'd want to give over a family heirloom to somebody you don't even think you're going to be with in the long run. You're not sure. Like, this trip is their deciding factor whether or not they're going to be together. I really don't know. I don't think I would have done that either. That doesn't make sense to me.
There's absolutely no way I would have handed him that ring. You just handed him thousands of dollars worth of watches. Again, I would be like, when you pop the question, I want to use this ring. So I will put this ring on after you pop the question, but I just need that question to be popped. And he's like, oh, trust me, I'm going to pop it. Like, he lit up like a Christmas tree when she handed him that ring. And again, I'm not saying that he would take it or anything, but at the same time, he obviously lives like they're in two different financial situations. He didn't have a job before this. He doesn't make a whole lot of money. He's not used to having these lavish gifts. And now you're handing him a ring that's probably worth $5, $10, $15, maybe even $20,000. Maybe not that much. I don't know. I didn't really get a good eye on it. But the point is, it was still a nice ring that could make him some money, especially maybe feed his family and everything like that. I don't know. I just wouldn't have handed this over.
Absolutely. And especially after the show airs, that's why I'm thinking to myself, like, Stephanie, what are you doing when the show airs? Whether or not she tells him on camera, she probably will. That's what they're waiting for her to tell him that, she slept with his cousin and that she's paying his wages and all these things. When all this comes out or he watches the show back and sees it, he's 1,000% going to leave. And then you're going to be out of every single thing you ever gave him. He's going to disappear. And
especially because it's not like it's not like he cheated on her, or he didn't cheat on her with it's like he was talking to other women and you're crazy about that. But then you went and slept with his cousin. Double standard.
I know. And that's the thing too. It's like this is supposed to be the trip, right? Where you decide you want to be with him. You still haven't told him you slept with his cousin.
Yeah, I would make sure that he gives you that ring back before you tell him.
Yeah, I would get the ring back and some of those watches too while you're at it. Just start to put some things in your carry-on.
Yeah.
And then tell him.
Put the stuff back on the carry-on. Go get your money back because he's going to leave you.
Speaking of rings too, really quick, Natalie and Michael. Oh my goodness. Like the way she asked for the ring every episode, I'm just starting to be like, you threw it at him. You threw the ring at him because he believed in aliens and not God or whatever else happened last season. And then now every single day you're telling him, oh, but I really need the ring. I feel like if I had the ring, things would be better. But then you're like saying he's low class and calling him a drunk.
See, I don't really necessarily understand this whole. I had a sister-in-law who flushed her diamond ring one time and she was like, I don't need this, and flushed it. And I'm like, girl, you can pawn that and go get yourself a nice apartment. What are you doing? And then I had a stepmom one time who got so mad at my dad that she took off her probably $10,000 ring. I mean, not crazy. It wasn't like a $50,000 diamond, but $10,000 diamond, and was like, F you, and just chucked it into the woods. And I was like,
oh my God.
So I don't understand this idea of giving the ring back. Like it, I don't know.
I'm actually engaged right now too. And I just feel like that's one, I mean, as annoying as it is to wedding plan and you get mad at each other, I've never taken my ring off except when I'm in the shower. So
hey, listen, if he ever asks for it back, you better pawn that, get rid of it, sell it.
Oh no, I'm keeping
do something with it.
Mine.
Yeah, you're like, I'm keeping this. You can go, bye.
I'm keeping it forever. No, I'm just kidding. No, but she knew what she was doing, right? She knew the significance of taking it off and throwing it at him. That's how you call off an engagement. That's a dramatic way of being like, I'm through, I'm done, whatever happens, happens. So you can't just ask him, now you want a wedding date. Now you want your ring back. And I think Mike's mom did a good job of kind of standing in the middle, even though that's her child. She was just like, to be fair to both of you, you shouldn't have taken it off and thrown it at him. And to be fair to him, he can't really keep you here without giving you a wedding date. So, I mean, she gave them some good advice. I don't know if it's too late for it to actually help, but I guess.
And just to play off of that too, I thought not only did she give good advice, but she also stood in her truth by saying, like, when she was talking to doing the interviews with production, she was like, I think that there's a lot of differences. There's a lot to work out. Do I think they're going to work? Not really. But at the same time, like you said, she told him, obviously this 90 days is going to happen fast. You need to set a date if this is something you guys are serious about. And she also looked at her and was like, I know that you want the ring back, but how do you think you made him feel when you chucked it at him? Like she didn't say it like that, but pretty much said it like that,
Yeah, and at the reunion, she was being weird too. And I was just like, okay, this is the end of this couple. And so I saw the promo. So I was just like, so they really decided to go through with the K1 after everything that they went through on his last trip. But I don't know. I guess they still see a future for themselves. It's just,
I don't know. And I also want to ask the chat. I'm going to ask you too. But guys, does butter actually help your memory? Is that a real thing?
No.
That is some Southern. That's something when I lived in Tennessee listen, when I used to always laugh because they said I had this friend whose mom would make cornbread and all of this stuff. And when I went to Tennessee from Florida, I was so much smaller than everybody around me. And it just seemed like the kids were like on steroids. And my dad tried putting me in the high school football team. I was like this big. And I played flag football in Florida, I was a little guy. And then I go there and it looks like everybody's like cornbread fed and like jacked up like this. And I looked at my dad and I was like, no. He's like, get your behind on that football field. And every time he would drop me off, I would sneak away and I would go up to like the Dollar General or I would go up to Walmart and hang out. And I would come back right after practice was over.
I don't blame you. Those are some big boys. They are big. They are big, rapping young kids. But yeah, she's a nice, sweet Southern lady. I don't think there's anything to that. But I like Mike's mom a lot. I think she tells it like it is. And she's one of the only people in their lives that are really kind of giving them like realistic advice. I don't know what Natalie's on. And then sometimes I don't know what Mike's on either. So they need their mom to basically help them along at this point.
I also like how when she's sitting there talking about the meat thing, his mom is also sitting there eating meat. And she's like, you can do what you want. I don't care.
Right. She's like,
and again, just growing up in like these settings, especially, I'm sure it's like the same all over. Or actually it's not the same. Everybody has their different kind of upbringing, but meat was on our dinner table every single night, whether it was in the pasta and it was like stuffed shells with meat and ricotta cheese, or if it was hamburgers or tacos or steak, or we always had meat. And I couldn't even imagine. And there are a lot of people who are vegetarians and I guess other stuff, but I just couldn't even imagine if I was with somebody and they were like, you need to stop eating meat. I'd be like, what do you want me to eat? Pizza? I don't know. I can't.
I feel like it was nice when she gave him that compromise of, okay, let's just try to do 1 day a week or a week without meat or something like that. Like, I get it, as wives or, as partners, sometimes we have to try to help our husband's health a little bit to push them in the right direction. But I think he could take the approach of his mom when she's being like that. Just continue to eat what you're going to eat. And then just tell her, calmly, Natalie, I'm going to eat what I want to eat. If you want me to eat something healthier, like some other podcast was saying that they were like, just cook for him before he comes home. You know,
Yeah.
no offense to the men on the chat, but men are not complicated creatures. If you cook something and it smells good when they walk in the door, they're going to eat it.
I hate men. I'm just kidding. No, Mary H said I looked it up as soon as she said it, and it's true. And someone else said fats do help your brain. I didn't know any of that, but also I have like 4 items in my food group, so that's probably why. Moving on though, really quick, I just want to ask you about Brandon and Julia, and also, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I just want to ask you about Brandon and Julia. I was going to ask you about one other thing, but I feel I don't come on here to make fun of anybody, so we'll leave this couple out of it.
Okay.
But do you have thoughts on them?
I think if the couple you're talking about is Rebecca and Zied, I don't know. I just feel like Zied came over trying to get a mom, and Rebecca doesn't really have her life together enough to give him the stability that he came over for. So we'll see. And it also,
I can't wait till he meets the PI best friend who's like, this is
I mean,
history repeating itself. You're in the same apartment, the same situation, another guy from the same sort of region, not really, but close. And it's just like, I can't wait to see what the friend has to say, because usually friends, especially when you stick a camera in somebody's face, people, they have a more brash delivery. They're like, honestly, I don't care. I'm not going to look stupid when this airs. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. That way, when I'm sitting down and with my friends and I'm like, yeah, girl, I'm on TLC tonight. She's going to be like, see, I told you. I told him like it was. You know, she wants that. That's people want that moment.
They do. And the producers kind of get them to that moment too. On the other end, that's the part we don't see. They're just like, that's what you want to say? They kind of, they get them into that place to talk. But yeah, I feel like she's done this before. That's why her kids and her son-in-law are so on top of her about their relationship. And then Zied lost all this weight and like glowed up before he came to America. And I really don't feel like he did that for Rebecca, but I guess I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, Willow and Pixie said, I still don't get why Rebecca left her PI job to be a chicken place manager. Doesn't make sense. I don't know if she was actually, I don't think she was a PI. I think just her friend was, unless I totally missed the mark on that. I think they were working together, but I don't know if she ever had her license or that she could do it by herself. I think she was helping her friend with her friend's business. Okay. But I agree. Why not continue on with your friend and get your license so you can do private detective work as well? That probably pays better. I don't know. I would be a great PI. I had this stepdad one time who used to make me watch my mom when she bartended, and we would sit out in the parking lot with binoculars and just make sure that she was doing everything she was supposed to. I was like 9 years old. I didn't realize how sick that was.
That's insane. I feel like now with social media, we've all became like junior level FBI agents, just going through comments and when was he on? I'm just like, yeah, I'm glad I'm past that point. But I feel like we've all could do a little PI work here and there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, social media works wonders. And unfortunately, when somebody puts it on the internet, it doesn't go away. It's there for the rest of your life. And it's easy to find. I mean, it just is what it is. But I am curious, just to help me end this off, guys. Again, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button. But what are you looking forward to? Just pick one couple, one scenario. What are you looking forward to most next episode?
I don't know. Just to kind of check in with Tariq and Hazel. I feel like they were one of my fan favorites in the beginning, and they haven't been in as much of the season as I thought. So I'm looking forward to seeing them, seeing what they're getting into, if they're going to get married at that place or if she's going to get her church wedding. Because I actually said I don't think any of them are going to make it, but I do think Tariq and Hazel will make it. So looking forward to seeing them and seeing their wedding, and because I don't know if any of the rest of them will get there. I really don't. Okay. No, I'm curious to see what happens when Brandon's parents, when he has that conversation with them about moving out. And trying to, I mean, he did even say maybe we can sway a little bit. Maybe we can kind of compromise and stay in the same room. And his parents are like, still, absolutely not. She's giving you ultimatums. And it's like, well, come on, work with the girl. He can't bring her tea. He can't see her in the morning because he has to work. He has to feed the animals before he goes to work. He comes home and is exhausted, can't hang out with her in the room and sleep in there. And he goes straight to bed. It's like,
this is a dumb relationship. This is a dumb scenario. The parents are not giving at all because, again, out of respect to their home, they're like, you guys aren't doing anything in the home, you know, and we want you guys until you're married to live separately. But at the same time, make sure that you're naked when you get in the hot tub. I don't.
Yeah, I just, you know, Brandon said in one of his ITMs, like, I know what I want. I don't want the farm. I want a future with Julia. So he just has to start acting like it, you know, like that person, I think it was her dad that she called. He's like, this isn't your concern. You know, he's the head of the household. He has to talk to his family and you just have to be ready to move. And I completely agree. I mean, that's your family. This is the situation that you brought me into when you told me that you had a place for me. Like, these are things that you guarantee someone when you get the K1, that they have a place to stay, that you'll take care of them until they're able to work, and that you're just going to be there for them and support them. If you didn't have the money to do that, you shouldn't have brought me here. Like, I shouldn't have to deal with all this stuff. This is your responsibility. You need to handle this with your family and let me know when I can pack my bag so I can leave.
I agree. Well, Sean, I appreciate you jumping on with me. As always, it's a pleasure. Before we go, I just want to thank you. And can you tell us where we can find your podcast?
Sure. You can find my podcast, Tea Talk with Shot, anywhere you listen to podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. I'm everywhere.
All right. And Shaw, if you're around tomorrow, we're going to be recapping Real Housewives of Atlanta with RJ. We have a few other exciting things coming up this week. So if you're around, we would love to have you join us. And yeah, I'll see you next time.
Of course. I'll be definitely in there when I'm not in meetings. I'm looking to see what's live. So.
All right. Well, perfect. Then we'll see you around.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
All right. Bye, Shaw. All right, guys. Well, that was it. That was our TLC 90 Day Fiance recap. If you guys haven't already, go ahead, show some love, hit that like button. I want to say thank you to everybody who was helping me out in the chat, especially you, Shan. I always appreciate you. Yeah, and everybody else just for being here. Thank you to Andrea for helping us clarify some things. And until next week, as far as 90 Day goes, in the meantime, of course, I think we do I don't know how many videos we do a week anymore, but we have a lot more topics coming up this week. So just stick around. We'll be there to cover them. And yeah, I'm still going to say Happy New Year until the end of January. So Happy New Year. Bye, guys.